What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video at hand, and today I want to talk to you guys about problems when collecting and playing for the Nintendo Switch. Now, the Nintendo Switch is easily my favorite current gen console, and it has been a tremendous success for Nintendo. And while I do think the Nintendo Switch is a great console to own, play, and collect for, there are some problems that come along with this console as well. So of course, in this video, I'm going to cover some of the biggest problems that I can think of that come to mind about the Nintendo Switch. Now, of course, in this video as well, I'm not going to cover every single problem, but as mentioned from before, I'm just going to cover the ones that come up in my mind if somebody were to ask me, hey Nate, what are some problems that come along with playing and collecting for the Nintendo Switch? So without further ado, let's dive right into this video subject and take a look at some problems that you could face when you decide to play and collect for the Nintendo Switch right after the intro. So I'm going to start this video off by talking about Switch games that are essentially a full download code. There's no game inside of them. All it is just a download code with a case included. So what do I mean by this? Take, for example, let's talk about this copy of Overwatch for the Switch. It says right here, full game download, game card not included. And when you open this up, as you can see, there's no cartridge, or how Nintendo calls it, a game card that is put right into the case. You get this little download code right here where essentially you do is you go online with your Switch connected to the internet, you pop in the code, you download it onto your console, and then you essentially can start playing Overwatch on your Switch. The problem with that is no longer physical media. All that is just a download code with a case. And the problem is with that, if you are somebody that is well aware of physical media and DRM and all that, is that you don't necessarily own the game anymore. All you do is you have permission from the developer and you have the license to essentially play the game, but of course, you will no longer have access to the game when either Nintendo decides to shut down the servers, or if the developer decides to pull the game off from the Switch. It can cause some headaches as well. Now, of course, with Overwatch, that's a very multiplayer focused game, but what about more games that are focused on single player? That can create an issue as well. For someone who wants to collect games physically for the Switch, this can create a bit of a challenge and a little bit of a problem if you are somebody that wants to have physical copies of games, but of course, then you'll run into games where you've got the physical case, but not necessarily the physical game. What do you guys think when it comes to Switch games where you've got the full game download, but of course it doesn't come with the physical game? Do you even bother buying these, or do you just download the physical game off of the eShop? Comment down below. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say when it comes to dealing with this situation. Now, the elephant in the room that is worth talking about when it comes to collecting and playing for the Nintendo Switch is the Joy-Con drift. This has been an issue that has been talked about very extensively in the community, and rightfully so. A lot of people have been annoyed by it and angry about it. I'll admit, when it comes to me using my Nintendo Switch, I try to use my Joy-Cons as very little as possible. Preferably, I try to use a controller such as this, is just because I'm just so nervous about getting some Joy-Con drift when it comes to playing my games, especially with games such as Smash Bros. Ultimate, where they are very intensive and put a lot of stress onto the Joy-Cons, especially when you are using smash attacks, where you are just constantly like putting a lot of force onto the sticks, it can cause some drift very quickly over time. Now, of course, for those that are really savvy with tech repair, you could always do is just buy some replacements online and do a little bit of some soldering. But of course, if you're somebody like me who doesn't know how to solder and has tried to solder before in the past and is absolutely abysmal with it, clearly that can be an issue when it comes to Joy-Con drift. So if you are somebody that is already using the Switch, or is thinking about playing on the Switch, or whatever the case may be, I would strongly recommend, if the game allows you to, is use a controller such as this, so that way if you decide to play a game, you don't really have to worry about Joy-Con drifts. After all, a lot of these controllers are a lot cheaper to replace than Joy-Cons, so when it comes to that matter at hand, there is a little bit of some food for thought to share on that matter. Now this is a big one right here, and that is the lifespan of the game carts. So what do I mean by this? A lot of physical media does not last forever. Whether it is CDs or cartridges or whatever the case may be, the same thing applies when it comes to the game carts for the Nintendo Switch. I've seen estimates online when it comes to those game carts that they will last about 20 years. However, they can last even longer if they are well taken care of, they're in the proper storage conditions and all that. So if you are somebody that really cares about your collection, your physical media, your games, you're going to want to make sure that you are taking good care of your games, because after all, if you don't take care of your stuff, it isn't going to last for as long as it could. Of course, that principle applies to everything in life. But of course, sticking to the subject of the Nintendo Switch, in my opinion, of course, I'm no expert at the matter, but as somebody who's done a lot of research and a lot of reading online when it comes to taking care of electronics over time, from what I know, you're going to want to keep your stuff within 60 degrees to 75 degrees in a climate-controlled room. Clearly, don't store these things outside. Don't keep them in your car. Don't keep them in the garage, unless if you've got like AC and heat or whatever, right? Please use some common sense when it comes to keeping these games, or otherwise, as mentioned from before, they're not going to last as long. And if you are somebody that is a collector that really values your collection, or somebody that just really enjoys your games, you're going to want to play them down the line, maybe share them with a few buddies of yours down the line, maybe some family, kids, spouse, whatever the case may be. Clearly you're going to want to take care of these games, so please be sure to take care of your Switch games, and just don't be scared by the fact that, hey, the typical lifespan or the expected lifespan is 20 years. After all, a lot of research has been conducted over the years where sometimes the experts do get things wrong. So, of course, you could be pessimistic and say that they could last less than they could have predicted, but of course, they can last even longer than that. But from what I know, if you do take care of your stuff and, you do use some common sense, I'm pretty sure that your Switch games will last a pretty good while. Now, this is a problem that's persisted on many Nintendo consoles and handhelds for many years, and it's unfortunate that this trend does continue with the Nintendo Switch, and that is price dropping. So what do I mean by price dropping? When it comes to exclusive titles and first-party titles, especially games made by Nintendo for Nintendo consoles, these are games that have been notorious where if there's even a price drop at all, it usually isn't by much. So I'll give an example. Take a look at a competitor's console, such as the Xbox Series X, with a game such as Forza Motorsport. Now, I don't remember if this game launched for $60 or $70, but what I can say is that there are price drops when it comes to some of those games on competitors' consoles. If you take a look at a used copy of Forza Motorsport, you can now expect to pick that game up for about $20. If you look for a copy of it on eBay, of course, if you walk into GameStop, they're going to want about $50 to $55, but that's just because that's GameStop. But if you try to take a look at some of those exclusive titles on the Switch, you're just not going to get that. It is unfortunate with that type of scenario that if you are somebody that is trying to get a deal for Nintendo Switch games, you're going to be very hard pressed if you try to go through the regular route of picking up games, waiting for either a year, a couple months, or whatever the case may be. You're going to be very hard pressed to find discounts and price drops of that nature. Of course, you could always do a little bit of some legwork and try to find some deals either locally at your thrift stores or at a garage sale or whatever. But when it comes to trying to pick up a game such as Super Mario Odyssey or Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Switch, don't expect to find a price drop that's very steep at all. That just is what it is when it comes to collecting for the Switch. It is unfortunate, but it is a reality to face. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.